Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Backlog Battle Podcast. This is Alex. I should have said welcome to the Backlog Battle Podcast, but it doesn't matter. If this is your first time listening to or watching this show, we talk to gamers from all walks of life, from various places, whether they're content creators, developers, publishers, or just fans of games, in order to get to know them a lot more than what we would see like on social media or their channels or what have you. Today, it is my pride and pleasure to introduce LadyPelvic. She's blushing right now.
I don't know. Can I blush? I don't know. Can I blush? Is that possible? Is my skin too dark? I don't know.
Only on the video version of this podcast, I think. So for the people there who are listening on podcast apps and stuff like that, the only way that you can see LadyPelvic blush is if you go to the Backlog Battle Podcast YouTube channel, where this is available in video form. But first and foremost, welcome, LadyPelvic. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm excited, nervous. I already told you. I'm like, every time I get on a podcast, I'm just like, okay, calm down. It's cool. We're cool. Everything's fine, But no, I've been doing well. I've been working out a lot more. And I'm on like my second month of working out, so I'm like really proud of myself. I haven't missed a day. I've been drawing more. I've been really good. I've just been like kind of giving attention to aspects of my life that I normally don't give attention to because I'm so busy gaming and creating videos and blah, blah, blah. So I feel healthy.
Yeah, that's great. It's great, though, that you're like working out and stuff like that. Like I went on this quest to lose, embarrassingly, like 10, 15 pounds, like at the beginning of the year. And I'm still about like 10 pounds off to my target. But like, isn't it great to like have this goal of like being consistent with this sort of thing, like working out and stuff? Like, how does that make you feel?
Oh, it makes me feel great. I feel like, okay, y'all can't tell, but I don't know. I was brushing my teeth the other day. Well, the other day, I mean like this morning, but like, and then, but I noticed the other day where like, I don't know, my bicep, I was like, I was like kind of like checking me out. I was like, oh shit, what's going on here? So like, I'm noticing small changes. It's a little frustrating, of course, to be like, man, I just want to be ripped. I want to be like, but I noticed small changes, and like I'm the opposite of you. I'm trying to gain weight, and I started at 105, and now I'm at like 106.4, and I'm like, woo, like small little. I want to get to maybe 115. I'm trying to also, COVID and stuff. I got like quote unquote skinny fat, where it's like, like this thing, and then just my stomach does this little thing, and I'm like, I don't like that. I'm not about that life. I miss my flat stomach. I was looking at like old pictures of me, you know how you do. Like old pictures, like, man, I remember when I was that like skinny, or that, I don't want to be skinny, but just the flat stomach, what I mean? And so I've been working toward that. And like, I was checking myself out this morning actually, and I was like, my stomach getting thinner? Like what? Like so I'm like seeing like small changes. And while I wish they were a little bit more like quicker, but I'm seeing them. That makes me happy, and that makes me want to keep going, because I think a lot of people lose motivation to work out. I can tell you I have several times. This is like my 20th attempt at like trying to make working out a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But it does feel really good to see improvements, where you're trying to improve.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think one thing that you'll notice as well, when you start working out more consistently, is that you get a clearer mind when you start working on, like videos or any creative endeavors. Like for me, like I used to wake up at around 6 a.m, but like COVID happened. So I started like waking up around 7, and I do like a full half-hour cardio and then like 10 minutes of yoga in the morning. And just that kind of consistency, it's almost like your body is like getting prepared to be like, okay, well, right after that, you're getting breakfast, you're going to take a shower or something, and then you're going to start working on your content. And I think, I can't wait to see what comes out of you in terms of content, like for the next few months and stuff, when you get this so consistent. It's actually really exciting. I'm not kidding.
So I don't know, people say that working out gives you more energy. I don't know if I believe that. So I feel like after I work out, I'm like, whoo, I am done. Like, whoo, I am done for the day. I am exhausted. And I'm trying, like, it's weird because I still have to make the after workout a routine as well. What I do is I wash my face, and then I make my protein shake, and then I like chill for a bit. I just kind of like chill. But then after I chill, I just like lay there. I'm like, I have to shower. I'm like, gross, you know? But it's like the after workout part is like a struggle for me to make a routine out of, you know, because I have a protein shake in the morning and then I have a protein shake at night. And it's just, I feel healthier, but I also feel exhausted. I don't know. Is that right? I feel like was that right?
No, I think it's right, because like what your body's trying to do is it's trying to repair all the damaged tissue that you did like during working out, you know, so it makes a lot of sense. That just means you have to eat more because you need that fuel.
Oh, that's a whole other issue I have too. Is like, because I'm like a workaholic when it comes to my videos. I'm one of those people who, gaming, for example, I'm like, okay, after this level, I'm going to make chicken teriyaki. Cool. 6 levels later, aka 6 hours later, when it's like 2, p.m., I'm now eating my first meal, which is a problem. Wow. Like I have Fitness Pal, whatever, so I can keep track of my calories and stuff. And I've been doing pretty good. Sometimes I go over, which is great, and then sometimes I go a little under, which is still fine. But I have protein bars. I've been trying to like find ways to help me snack more. Like I have Ritz crackers at my desk now, so that way if I get hungry, I have something. I have pistachios. I don't know if you can see them in the back, but I have like pistachios. I just, because pistachios, like nuts, are like really fatty and stuff. These crackers, carbs galore, and calories. But so I like eating actually is like one of the hardest. Working out isn't the hardest part for me. It's eating consistently. Because I used to eat probably like under 1,000 calories a day, which isn't good if you're trying to gain weight.
Yeah.
And it's not that I have like I personally wouldn't say I have an eating disorder. I've never gotten diagnosed, but like I'm not bulimic. Like I love food. I want that shit to stay inside me. You know what I mean? Your girl does not fucking approve of vomiting. Okay. We don't like that. Like people have asked if I was anorexic, and no, like I love food. Like I'm not like if we go to a restaurant, I'll eat. Like how some girls are like dainty, like, oh, I'll have a salad. Bitch, no, I want a fucking rack of lamb. You know what I mean? With steak, potato, tomato. Like let's go. I want it all. It's literally me getting up and cooking, or getting up and like every morning before I work out, I have Chobani's Greek yogurt, strawberry Greek yogurt, which is high in protein and carbs. So I have that before, and then I like coast for an hour just to like kind of let myself digest. I don't like to like eat and then work out immediately. And then I work out, and then after I work out, I eat my protein shake, and like the protein shake is like 600 calories. Granted, I split it into 2, so it's 300 calories per day, or each serving for me. But like it's a lot. Like eating is hard. It's weird, because majority of the country is overweight and stuff, and I'm sure people hear me talk and they're just like, wow, I wish I had that problem under eating. I'm like, well shit, I wish I could eat more. Like I love food, make no mistake, I love food. I just know I don't have an appetite in the morning. I have to eat like very lightly. So like I used, when I was younger, I'd have like eggs, bacon, hash browns, and all like the whole kit and caboodle. Now I'm like, I'm not in the mood for that. I'll have that for dinner. I'll have that for lunch. Just in the morning, I'm like, I just want like an orange. I want yogurt. I want something super light that my stomach will process easier. So it's like eating is hard. Eating is the hardest part for me. But I found like little not hacks. There's not really a hack, but more like, it's really interesting when you start getting into this food stuff, like like Swiss cheese, I think is like 80 calories. And I was like, oh, I can eat 2. And that's like 160 calories. Woo! And I love cheese. So I'm like, oh, this is great. So small things like that. But, and also it's really hard for me too, because, you're supposed to have a balanced diet, and I'm so hung up on calories where my diets aren't really balanced. Like I don't have a lot of fruit. I love fruit, but fruit to me, like I can get full on strawberries, again, low calories. I'm like, well, shit, if I eat strawberries, then I can't eat these crackers, and so I'm not getting like fiber and all. It's this balance. It's a lot.
It's tough.
It's a lot.
It really
Holy
is tough.
Shit.
Yeah, it's really tough to balance a lot of this stuff, because it's almost like you are your own mechanic for your own body. Yes, like we need fuel, obviously, but you also need to spend that fuel, because it's bad if you don't do it. It just kind of keeps it in. So there's a lot of considerations with that. And for the people who are tuning in for the first time to this podcast, thinking that this is going to be a gaming podcast, well,
sorry,
you're not entirely correct, because this is really all about the person that I'm talking to, and really like you sharing a lot of what you're thinking right now is really like at the heart and soul of the show. So obviously we will talk about gaming. I promise we will get there. But I do have to ask, because since you love food so much, I have to ask, what's your favorite food?
I love it all. I probably no, that's not true. That's a lie. But I love food though. My favorite food, I don't know if it's lamb. I don't know if it's sushi. I don't know if it's a calzone. I don't know if it's filet mignon. But one of those. I love meat. Oh yeah, I love meat. Oh my god, I love meat. I love like oxtail. What's my favorite? Okay, wow. Okay. Maybe it's like between lamb and steak. Yeah. Lamb or steak. Yeah. I don't know. Though you can't make me choose. So there you go. I've narrowed it down to 2. Lamb or steak. But I like sushi too. Okay, lamb, steak, or sushi. So I narrowed it to 3. Okay.
So we're going back up to 4 because you mentioned 4 before.
I don't. Leave me alone. This is hard. This is tough. You told me this podcast was going to be easy. What happened?
Well, I mean, I didn't even expect it to be like to go to like questions about food either. So I mean, I guess there's that as well. So okay, so let's kind of rein it in then, because I know we're kind of going crazy here a little bit with like all these food questions and diet questions. But I hope for the people who are listening and watching, like you got some sort of insight on this and stuff. I'll read the comments on the video version, of course. But going back to gaming, I always love asking this question because it's the most primal of all questions. How did you get into video games?
How I started was educational video games. So think like Freddy Fish, third grade adventure. Like those adventure games are so much fun. Oregon Trail or Oregon Trail. I don't know. Oregon Trail. Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So it's definitely an educational thing. My mom also had like a Super Nintendo, Super Mario 3D World, Pokemon, then like so education, then it kind of went to like Mario and Pokemon. The anime got me into the games. Then Sonic. It's like Sonic, Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda were like kind of my intro to like, I don't want to say real games, but for lack of better words, like real games,
Yeah.
Going away from like the educational games for a moment. But yeah, I really loved storytelling. I loved the characters. Like at first it was Mario, like you jump over things. Simple enough, right? But then we got into like Pokemon, where there was like I don't know, just there's obviously some reading, and I don't remember Pokemon Red or Blue having a deep story. It was just Team Rocket, right? Just like they were the Mafia, right? I don't think there was anything like deep and brooding about that. But then Phantasy Star 4 was I think my first like real. Pokemon is a JRPG, but like heavy story kind of intro was Phantasy Star 4 and then Wild Arms, and then I was off. I was on a journey. But Phantasy Star 4 got me. If you know Phantasy Star 4, there's just a thing that you play Phantasy Star 4.
Yeah, of course.
Phantasy Star 4, there's a thing, I just feel like and especially as a kid, when this thing happens, I was mind blown. I was like, it blew my, I was like, Mom, they can't do that, And Mom was like, well, they did, And I was like, Mom, it blew my mind. So I think that never forget, and then Wild Arms happened, and Wild Arms was fantastic. I really loved it. I honestly don't remember like my timeline from there, but
for sure.
So, but yeah, education is kind of where it started.
Did you play like the Carmen Sandiego games?
I don't think I did. If I did, Darn. I don't remember them. Yeah. I remember, do you remember the Snow Yeti game?
No, I don't actually.
Oh man. It was like, you never heard of the Snow Yeti game? Really?
No, I haven't.
What is it? Hold on. Like, I just need you to know.
You gotta look it up.
Yeah, I need you. Ski Free. You never heard of Ski Free?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ski Free. I know that. Yeah.
Yes. That was another game. Ski Free, man. Never forget Ski Free. I forgot the whole original point of me bringing up Ski Free, but Ski Free.
Well, that's really cool. Like, so, wow. So we went from education to like the trifecta of Nintendo, games and stuff like that. And then to Phantasy Star. That is quite the leap, because you look at Pokemon and then Phantasy Star 4, they're like leagues separated in terms of like the kind of storytelling and content in a JRPG. So I could only imagine how you reacted to the storytelling of Phantasy Star 4. I mean, obviously you've expressed how, especially in that one part that I know it's really silly to care about spoilers, but we want people to like play Phantasy Star 4 as much, if however they can. Is that how you kind of realize that that's a genre that you're going to be playing for decades on end, pretty much?
I mean, did I know at the time? No, but like, I guess hindsight, looking back, I'm like, yeah, this is how it began. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because like I said, Phantasy Star 4, then Wild Arms, then I don't even know. Like, just sky's the limit from there, right?
Sure.
Because Wild Arms was great too. Again, the characters, the story. I was really big into anime, so any kind of like anime looking games, I was like, that Phantasy Star had it, especially with like the comic book panels. I thought was really cool. Yeah. Wild Arms had it, at least like the cover. I don't think they had portraits in Wild Arms, not the first one, but I saw the cover. I was like, whoa, anime cowboys, crazy. But Pokemon, it definitely got me into anime. Pokemon got me into so many things. So the next thing, I feel like, I don't know, was it maybe Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy X, maybe? I feel like, don't quote me on that. I just remember like the next game seemed to be around there.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense because that's really pretty much what followed, right? Like, but I noticed you went from Genesis, PlayStation to like the PS2. Did you not have a Dreamcast at the time?
Oh yeah. Well, okay, but the Dreamcast though, there were no JRPGs on the Dreamcast that I played. So I was a Jet Set Radio. I was a big Sonic fan, huge Sonic fan. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, let's fucking go. Love that.
Yeah.
Jet Set Radio, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. Maybe I played the Sombrero Monkey game. There was a Sombrero Monkey game, right?
Samba de Amigo.
Okay, thank you. See, I was like, I swear that I feel like I might have played that a little bit.
It's like with the maracas, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yes, that. But also Phantasy Star Online. I played that. Okay, of course. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm. Pretty awesome.
I was like, there has to be something else on the Dreamcast that I'm missing. Yes, Phantasy Star Online. That's what I did with the Dreamcast.
Such a great game.
Fantastic game. Loved it.
Really is. Especially as a big fan of Phantasy Star, right? Like, you have to try the online version.
Right? Although, while I am a fan of Phantasy Star, I don't know if I'd say a big fan because I've never played Phantasy Star 1 through 3, even to this day. But I played the best one, or so I'm told. So
I feel like I am the black sheep of the Phantasy Star community because I like 3. And 3 is actually, I think, the most reviled one.
Oh, I did hear that. Mm-hmm.
But it's like, the thing that's really cool about 3 is that you had this really strange generational gameplay where, depending on your actions and your choice of spouse or something like that, that's how you class change. Do you know anything about like 3 at all?
No, I know nothing at all. This is new. I didn't even know that you can get married in that game. Completely news to me.
Yeah, and so this is crazy, right? So there are multiple characters that you can marry. There's one that's very much like kind of physical focus style, and there's one that's magic. There's actually a very complicated like tree. So if you marry the magic user, so what's going to happen is like your kid could be like one of maybe 2 different kinds of characters or offspring, and by the time you get to the end of the game, you're like half physical and half magic and stuff. And so it all has everything to do with like who you choose to marry. That's why the subtitle for Phantasy Star 3 is Generations of Doom, because you're literally going through generations of a family in order to play that game. And so right? And that's what I'm saying. Like, and people are like, oh, it's a piece of shit. I'm like, no, like, yes, compared to 2 and compared to 4, it is a piece of crap. But the whole, I'll be honest on that. But when you think of 3 and how unique it was, even to this day, there's nothing that tries to do something like that in today's day and age.
Yeah, that is actually really fucking interesting. You've piqued my interest, sir. You've piqued my interest.
Maybe you can redeem this game in a future video playthrough or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I'm thinking, although like 4 was like, to me 4 was hard. Holy crap.
Right.
4 was like super grindy. The key with 4 is like buffing and debuffing. Like once you figure that out, then it's like smooth sailing. But your girl did not figure that out until late in game. So I was like getting my ass handed to me. I was like, what the is going on? I ain't trying to brag, but like rarely do I get my ass handed to me in a JRPG. Especially I feel like nowadays a lot of them are easier than like the old school ones.
Oh yeah.
But No, Phantasy Star 4 humbled my ass. Let's put it that way. They said, bitch. I was like, okay.
Well, as your first real JRPG, it is very humbling, right? Because Pokemon is not really that hard, you know? It's meant to kind of attract, you know, kids and kind of collect the Pokemon. That was the whole gimmick, and that's the spiel. But then you go to something like a Final Fantasy or a Phantasy Star or a Wild Arms, that's when it's like, all right, let's do it. This is the big boy or big girl pants time, you know, wearing season, that sort of thing. So, you know, I totally get that. That being said, so you've been playing a lot of JRPGs over the years and stuff like that. What were the series that you find that you gravitate towards to try to go back and maybe revisit or play through and stuff like that? Like, because you don't necessarily play the latest games. You go back and actually play you know, like Grandia 2 is a great one that you mentioned on Twitter very recently that, you know, you're playing through. And by the way, it was on Dreamcast. It was on Dreamcast. Oh
yeah. So, well, I didn't play it back then, but yeah.
So yeah, like I'm kind of curious, like, to be more specific with the question, like, how do you choose the games that you're interested in to go back to? Because there's a plethora of games between now and the PlayStation that you could go back to, you know?
It's a mixture of things. It's like what interests me, what my audience wants. Maybe if I know something about the game. For example, like how you brought up like the generations for 3. I'm like, I'm interested. Like I see people stream a game, you know, Super Derek RPGs, you know, he has this awesome stream idea called like Jukebox, where if you like donate, sub or something like that, it like changes the game, like mid-game. Like he plays 3 games at a time. So I get to see these 3 games in rotation and I'm just like, the graphics are interesting, or this character, ooh, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So it's nice to see gameplay mechanics. So sometimes that interests me and that puts something on my list. Accessibility matters. I try not to emulate. I've only emulated one game, that's Mother 3, because Earthbound was just so good. So good. I needed to know how it continued. But you know, a lot of people have gifted me games, which I'm so grateful for. So I want to get to those games as well. So it's a plethora of things. But like above all, it's definitely my mood. Like, what do I want to play? You know, because I'm not going to play a game that I don't care for. You know what I'm saying? Life's too short to play games that you just don't give a fuck about. So,
as a content creator as well, and I've only really been doing this for like 4 years and stuff. It's like a lot of people ask me like, why don't you have, you know, critical reviews and stuff like that of games that you don't like? And I'm like, well, you know, much like you, I'm like, I don't want to play a game that I'm gonna hate like outright. As a reviewer, you have the choice to pursue something or not, you know? And especially you know, I think you can relate to this a lot because you play and review a lot of RPGs, you know? Like there's only so much time we have in our schedule to, you know, to want to engage in something that we have to be smart with our selection, you know? So I think that's what, you know, I can completely relate to what you said. That being said, I do have to ask, what is the longest RPG you've ever played? Because there's a lot of them out there.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I racked up 198 hours, yeah.
That was the longest?
That was the longest. Never again.
Never again. Okay. That says a lot.
Because like my thing is I want to like beat a game thoroughly. Like I beat the game, but I didn't complete it in the sense that like, you know how it has that gacha system? Are you familiar with Xenoblade Chronicles 2?
I don't like that system.
Oh, nobody does. And I was like, you know what? If these are the orbs people I get, you know, these are the weapons I get, that's what I'm using. You know what I'm saying? Because like the rare drops were insane. Like the legendary drops, you're like a 0.2%. I was like, fuck off. Like I don't got time for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuck off with that. And they were saying like the cheat is like, oh, well, if you release one, you know, one of your legendaries, you have a higher chance of getting. I was like, no, I want it all. Why would I? I want it all. You know, I never got Cosmos or anything. I was like, well, fuck Cosmos. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. You know, I was doing just fine without her. You know, I had Pyra and Mithra, baby. Like that's all I needed. And you know, so I feel like that took a lot of time. Like I didn't even play Torna. People say Torna is great. I'm sure it is, but I was so done with Xenoblade Chronicles. I was so fucking done with that game. And the fact also, like, if you played it when it first came out, that game was half-baked. Let's be real. There was a lot of polish that game needed.
Yeah.
They did it a lot of updates. Like, my review of that game right now is totally outdated. You know, some people even comment, they're like, this review's outdated. I say at the end of my review, by the way, that it's going to be outdated because they listed a bunch of patches that were coming, blah blah blah. You know, some date that but my review was already out. I'm like, I'm not stopping. I'm not going to go back and revisit this game. You know, but Xenoblade Chronicles, so like, and the journey was like, it was all right. It was fine. It was okay. Like, I like certain aspects of it. I thought it ended on like really good notes. Like, every chapter ended really strongly. But like Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is just like,
yeah,
perfect.
right? It's so good. It's so good.
It's so great.
Like, if I had a new 3DS, you know, I would have bought that port as well. Like, I have the original Wii one, and of course I got the Switch one, and it's like, it was so fantastic. I was so happy when it made it to the Wii. Like, you know, it's great. It is so good.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I played the original. I played the Switch one. Love the Switch one. Thought, the updates the Switch one had. It ran beautifully. I was actually impressed that the Switch could handle such like a grand game too. That game was big. But yeah, I didn't play the 3DS one. Even, I'm not gonna lie, I do have a new 3DS, but I looked at it, I was like, this is a disgrace. I just felt that I'm sorry. I saw this game, I was like, this game is beautiful. It's beautiful. The environments are created with so much love, you know. And then you're gonna put it on the 3DS, like the grand environments, and the 3DS like this. You're gonna watch it like this. This is how you're gonna watch it. Like, I get supporting the developers and all that shit, which is great, but I was like, I'm not gonna fucking look at this monstrosity. How dare you? You know, I took it as like a personal slight. I was like, fuck this. But to answer your question, yes, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the longest, I think, followed by Xenogears and Persona 5. Yeah, because those two games I've breached 100 hours. I am Persona 3, actually. I think Persona 3 I breached 100 hours too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll say those. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and then everything else.
Everything underneath that.
Yeah, there we go.
I started with Final Fantasy 1 for the NES, and you know, that was like about 20-ish hours or something like that. You know, I couldn't imagine like getting to a point where, you know, I played Royal last year and I was like close to 200 hours trying to, you know, platinum that game. And I mean, I loved it. It's still a fun game, but holy crap, like the games are getting way longer these days. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and like I'm not really crazy about that. Don't get me wrong, I think take the time you need, right, to flesh out a character's arc and town arcs and the overarching story. I'm here for that. But sometimes I'm just like, man, this is, whew, you know, especially because people are like, oh, when are you going to review this? I'm like, do you know how long an RPG is traditionally? Like, to me, 60 hours is short. Some people are like, that's long. I was like, listen, I play these 80 hours is like, to me, like, okay, that's like the normal. And then 100 hours is long for me. You know, some people are like, what, 80 hours is long? I mean, it's like, well, for you, but as someone who, again, I just inhale these games. Like Grandia 2, I started that game 2 days ago, and I'm about to beat it. I could beat it today if I wanted to. I'm not, but I'm trying to like enjoy it, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like, slow down, girl, slow down. But these games are getting insanely long, and sometimes I just think like side quests. I love side quests. My thing with side quests is, though, I am now at the point in my life where the rewards don't matter to me. It's usually, if there are good rewards, then all right. But to me, it's more about the story. Like, I think Nier Automata does a phenomenal job with this because there's so many quests in Nier Automata where it's like you get rewards, you get money, you get, you know, a better weapon or something, but you get like an aspect of the story that you wouldn't otherwise get that may come to play later, you know, and you're like, it's so good. Like, I love Nier Automata's quests. They're phenomenal. But I just think there are some quests that are just boring, or, you know, like, if you're gonna make boring quests, so help me God, if you're gonna make boring quests, don't let me have to turn them in. That's another pet peeve. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me just, you collect 4 of these, boom, you get the money instant. You know, because did Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I think you had to turn them in. And I was like, are you fucking, this grand ass fucking world, and you're going to make me go to point A to point Y? Like, what the fuck, you know? Like, come on, man. And I get fast travel's a thing and all this shit, but I just feel like there are ways the games could like cut corners without sacrificing the quality. Again, side quests, don't make me turn them in. I don't need to turn them in, you know, or have like special side quests where like you have to turn those in, but those are like, you get like a cutscene with them or something. Like Bravely Default 2 had certain side quests where you got like a cutscene, you know, it's like, ooh, you know, where that was a little bit more story related and blah, blah, blah. Granted, I still think you had to turn, did you have to turn them in? I think you did have to go back. Yes, you did have to go back and talk to them, regardless if it was like a cutscene side quest or not. But
yeah,
I just wish JRPGs would be a little bit more mindful of people's time. It sucks kind of getting old because now you start to wonder if things are like, if you're the target audience, right? I mean, look at Persona 5, for example. All the people are like high schoolers. We're not high schoolers anymore. We're grown, you know? And it's not necessarily always supposed to like appeal to us, you know? Or like respect our time. Like, oh, you know, we're adult, we're grown ass people. Like we're supposed to have a 9 to 5 like real people job, boring ass real people, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to complain. Well, I am complaining. Who am I kidding? But it's I don't know. I just wish JRPGs would cut corners, like just mindfully, like without sacrificing story and all that stuff. You know, like make things more meaningful. Like respect the player's time. Let's put it that way. So.
I think there's a lot that we can talk about when it comes to JRPGs and just the evolution of the genre, because I feel like there are movers and shakers within this industry that do focus on very different aspects of that kind of game. Like, for example, Falcom is a great example where they have, especially in the Trail series, they have this really intense focus on interpersonal relationships, the politics, and the overarching story of the Trails and the Kiseki series, right? But then when you go to the gameplay and stuff like that, like, it's building upon prior knowledge of what they built before in such a way that I think, I want to say, in my opinion, like by the time Cold Steel 4 ended, like it was so complex that if I tried to explain it to somebody like who's brand new to the series, they'd be overwhelmed. But, you know, that being said, my wife was able to explain it to a friend of ours pretty well, which is it's a materia system on steroids, something like that. But then that still required you to know what the materia system is and all that stuff. And I guess this is all to say that one of the things that I personally noticed with JRPGs, apart from like taking more time lately, is that especially now that Square Enix, for example, with Bravely Default 2, they're realizing that the genre still has fans. It's just we don't know how to push this genre forward from where we are, because all we know is what we knew back in the Super Nintendo PlayStation days of, like, you know, Final Fantasy V. In Bravely Default's case, that's really like what it's aping in terms of its design. Let me give you an example of my biggest pet peeve in Bravely Default 2. I love leveling all the jobs, but help me God that I have to freaking re-equip the right freaking weapons and armor for those jobs because, oh shit, I can't use this anymore. It's useless. They didn't think of like a loadout system for each of the jobs where the game would actually remember, like, oh, well, this is your warrior. Like, this is what they had equipped before you changed jobs. Like, they completely forgot about it for some reason. But that's just like a really good example of that, where like developers are just like, well, I don't know, let's just take what we had before. Like Tokyo RPG Factory is another pet peeve of mine, because for every game that they make, they're always evoking Chrono Trigger's name. It's like, oh yeah, it's from the guys who made Chrono Trigger. It plays like Chrono Trigger, but it's nothing like Chrono Trigger. I think there's still a long way to go when it comes to RPGs and really realizing and recognizing our needs as players. Like, hey, we don't have a lot of time anymore. Don't waste our time. I'm hoping with Hashino's Project Refantasy, which we haven't seen yet, that's going to basically blow our minds and actually say, hey, you know what? Since we're not doing Persona anymore, here's what we think JRPG is going to be in the next, few years. That being said, though, like, you're obviously known for covering all these JRPGs and lengthy games and stuff in a very meticulous way. How did you actually get into content creation and recognizing that this is something that you want to do and share with people?
I originally wanted to be like an actress. I really enjoyed film and whatnot, but you get rejected more than you ever get accepted, which is fine. That's just the industry, So I was like, I'm just gonna do my own thing and see where this goes. And here we are. Now, granted, like, my stuff isn't like particularly acting or like heavy skits and stuff like that, but it's just nice to be in front of the camera. Maybe that's what I wanted. I just wanted attention. But that's kind of where it started. I was just like, okay, well, what's something I could continuously do? Because YouTube is a lot of work, right? It's easy to like put out 2 videos and then, or rather, I think a lot of people think they could just go viral. They put out a video or 2 and like, whoa, I'm the next fucking big YouTuber. It's not like that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the JRPG squad, me, you, Super Derek, Eric, Landon, David, all that, we're all like working really hard, but none of us have like blown up per se. Like when I mean blow up, I mean blow up. Like I'm talking about like, wow, we're $500,000 overnight or something like that. Like we've all like built our channels, like Landon and David Vink, like they are both, like 60K, 70K, which is great, like more power. But they worked hard to get there, though. None of us have had like an overnight success. But yeah, so you just have to work hard. So it's something you have to keep at. Was my point. Something. So I was like, oh, okay. And video games and JRPGs, which is my favorite genre, I can talk about that forever. I won't get burnt out as quickly. Like sure, I have other interests. Like I have art or whatever. Art is actually probably my first love. I just didn't know how to go about it on YouTube, I guess. I was just like, and I watched more gaming YouTube than I did art YouTube. So I don't know, I just picked one. I was like, all right, I'm going to go with gaming. So, and here we are.
Did you decide to like make reviews right away, or like what kind of content did you start with?
Reviews. No, okay. Reviews like right away. I was like, you know what? I don't know. I just want my opinion out there on like games and stuff. And I felt reviews were something I could consistently do, because reviews, I don't have to go into great detail. They're not like an analysis, right? Where some of these analysis, I mean, they go in with like a fine-tooth comb, and I mean, I break down every character interaction. I was like, that is homework. I don't want that. I want to talk about why I recommend this game or why don't I recommend this game. Like before you buy, one of those kind of things, right? Like, hey, if you're gonna play, Xenoblade 2 or Chronicles 2, know that it's a time sink. Know that there's a gacha system. Know that you have to turn in quests. Know that it still needed time in the oven. Like when it came out, the mapping system isn't as great as X, Chronicles X. And well, like this beware if you buy this. And also know that like patches are coming. So maybe I hope your experience will be better than mine. But I let them know. And my goal here isn't to bash the game. It's never is, I don't like Final Fantasy VIII, for example. And I felt like I like kind of popped off on that game. But, I think you have to keep in mind, right? You have to keep it entertaining, right? I'm not a Wikipedia page where like Final Fantasy VIII came out and no one fucking will watch that. And people are here for my opinions. Like the thing is, what's cool about it too is if I don't like a game for this reason, like I don't like random encounters, but someone else does, then that's okay. But they know the fact is this game has random encounters. So, and if that like hypes them up to play the game, great. Just because I don't like a game doesn't mean nobody else or everyone else has to dislike it as well.
Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of interesting too, because like for every reviewer that I've spoken to on this show, we all have that same desire to share our ideas and thoughts to people, but not inhibit other people from trying out the games that we don't like. Because I think part of being a reviewer is all about being able to convey that while I think of this, you don't have to. And if you disagree with that, we can actually talk about it in the comments if we want to. I think that's actually what's the most important thing about like what we do as reviewers, is that we're creating conversation with the larger gaming community. And I think by you identifying and saying like, well, I just want to share my thoughts on the game out there, you're already affecting the whole community like in a very positive way. Whether it's critical or not, it really doesn't matter. What the point is that there's more people like us who are be able to share a different perspective than what most other media out there. And you mentioned, the JRPG squad and stuff like that with Eric, Landon, Derek, and well, David, I haven't reached out yet. But those two have already been on the show before, and they've said the exact same thing as well. Like, we just want to share ourselves out there. I didn't know that you wanted to be an actress and stuff. But that being said, I think the most interesting part about being a video content creator on YouTube is you're not just the actress, you're not just the narrator, but you're the script writer, the director, the editor, the sound designer, social media person, PR. How do you feel about taking all these kinds of roles and stuff like that? Like, because you mentioned you're a workaholic, and so I'm kind of curious, like, what your process is with how you balance out all these different roles as a content creator.
Well, everyone thinks I have like the schedule down pat, and the truth is I don't. I do what needs to be done. I put out a video, or I try to put out a video every 2 weeks. What needs to be done in this 2 weeks for this video to get out? Do it. You know, social media and stuff. Social media, I'm like iffy on, because I understand like posting gets you more followers, and numbers matter. People like to say it doesn't. It does. And not necessarily to your worth, to other people, but to companies. Let's be real. Companies look at your follower count, they look at your engagement, and they're just like, oh, we want to work with you. Oh, like, you know, you can, you know, when you get sponsors, you can bargain, you can, you know, numbers matter. Okay. It just doesn't mean that's what you're worth. Let's just be clear on that. So for me, I'm just pretty good at getting shit done, you know, like what needs to be done. Like I just, you know, like, okay, cool. I need to finish this script. Well, you know, sometimes I do it in bits. You know, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm doing like a top 5. We'll do one section of the top 5 today. We'll write it out, blah, blah, blah. We'll get footage for it. Cool. That section's done. Tomorrow's a new day. We'll do the next one. Sometimes I like don't do it for like 4 days. And I'm just like, I'll just do this whenever I feel like it again. Like, when does this video have to get out? In 3 days? Okay, well, sometimes, you know, you bucket till the last minute. I'm usually not that bad, not last minute bad. It is a lot of work, though. I will say that. It's definitely a lot of work with being like your own sound designer. Every time I film, I always test. I do like a test thing first. Because before, like back in my early days, I would just turn on the camera, focus it to what I thought looked good, and then I'd film the whole thing. And then when you found out it's not in focus, I like to put out high quality content. So I was like, well, got to refilm all of this shit. So ever since that day, you know, now I do a test. I'm like, I'm sitting here. This is how I have it. We test it. Does the test look good? The sound look good? Everything looks great. Bam. So it is a lot of work to do that. Like, and like the things, you don't get it right the first time. So like I'm my own camera, like I'm telling you, I lean over to the camera and then I quickly sit back down. And then I'm like, okay, cool. We test it. Okay, it's good. Check it in the computer. Oh, it doesn't look good. Okay, time to readjust. You do it 2, 3, 4 times. There's just so many aspects of it. And my thing is this: do you want it or not? I want to be successful on YouTube. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. I want to be successful. You know, recently joined Normal Boots, and Normal Boots wouldn't have invited me if I didn't work my ass off. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If they didn't see I was a hard worker, if they didn't see that I was consistent with the content I posted, that, you know, I'm likable, I'm marketable. I'm not that they said I'm marketable, but, you know, like that is a thing that I believe it's a thing that plays into anything, whether they say it or not. Not that I thought they ever like hired me for that, but I just work very hard. You know, I work very hard. I do what needs to be done. I get it done. There are days where I don't want to do things. So there are days where like, oh yeah, I just felt like, you know, I don't know, I was having like a low point in my day. You cry right before filming. Been there, done that. Like I'm like, you know, you cry and then you're like, I wipe my tears and I'm like, all right, well, the show must go on. The show must go on. That's where I'm at, you know? So you feel, you know, you dry your tears, you put on more makeup if you got to cover those, you know, tear stains. And then you're just like, okay, we film. You put on that, you know, you're like, I can't tell you. There are times where you're just like this, so you're in front of the camera, and you're like, okay, 3, 2, 1. What's up, guys? It's your girl, LadyPelvic. You know, it's a complete like, you know. But do you want it or not? Do you want it or do you not want it? Because the world isn't going to stop for you. The world's not going to call you. Like, yeah, people are understanding and stuff, but I have a Patreon, so money's involved. Do it or don't do it. You know, don't hit me with your excuses. Well, this, like. You know, I filmed when, you know, again, when I was in tears and I wipe my tears, we do it. When, you know, that time of the month rolls around, there are times where I don't want to do things, but we do it. Life happens, just outside life situations happen. The end question is, do you want it or do you not want it? I'm not saying that you shouldn't handle whatever's like bothering you, by the way, but I am a firm believer is like the show must go on.
And I think to kind of build upon what you said, though, like I've met so many people who ask me the same questions, right? Like, you know, what do you do to become like a successful content creator on YouTube? What do you do to become a successful Twitch streamer? I'm like, bitch, fucking do it consistently, you know? Our mutual friend, Daniel, Shintai Reviews, and I, you know, read a lot of books and stuff, like audiobooks. I actually I like to credit myself as the person who got him into audiobooks. But like, so him and I actually read Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, his autobiography. And this dude, like, I don't know, you probably don't know a lot about Arnold Schwarzenegger, but like when he immigrated to this country, he not only had to work out, which was, one of his jobs, he also had to go to school, acting class, comedy class, also like had his own business. He literally had like 5 or 6 different things happening all at once. So when you look at him now, obviously he's like, oh, freaking action star and stuff. You governor of California at one point, but he didn't get there just by lazing about and not putting aside the time. And this is the key part, to get where he's at, and I guess this is all to say that if you're really passionate about something, if you really want to attain something so bad, you're going to set the time for it. And so for me, one of my biggest annoyances is when somebody comes up to me and says, how do you find time to play like, Final Fantasy 14, which is an MMO, and, Persona 5 Strikers, which is like 160, 70 hours. I'm like, you make the fucking time, Isn't that a simple answer? What do you think about that? You agree with that?
Oh yeah, you make, do you want it or not? Like I'm telling you, it comes down to do you want it or not. You make time for the things you want to do. You know what I'm saying? You can be busy and, you want to make time for your significant other, even if the time is like 5 minutes, you drop off lunch at work. You make time for things you want to do. You make time for things, I want to draw. So I'm like, okay, cool. I want to draw for this long. I put on music. We just go. All right, I want to finish Grandia here, so I guess I'm just not sleeping tonight. You make sacrifices. It's just, it's what you do. I completely agree with that. How do you make the time? You make the fucking time. Like, you got to sacrifice something, you're working out. All right, well, take less rest during your fucking sets. You know what I'm saying? You make the fucking time.
Yeah, there was a part of that book, that Arnold Schwarzenegger book, like, there was a kid that asked college kid that asked like Arnold, like, yeah, how like, I have like a part-time job and then you go to school, and freaking Arnold schooled him. He asked him the exact hours he spends on school, like at work, homework and stuff like that, and he's like, the day has 24 hours. You're just using 12 of them. There's 8 for sleep. What happened to the rest? It's like, right? There's 4 more hours that you could use. What are you doing with the 4 hours? Watching TV, And that's that was a lesson that I took from that book, like, really well, because I was like, no, you're right. And that's actually one of the reasons why I kind of pursued YouTube, is because, like, we talked before the show for our patrons and stuff. Like, I talked about how, this podcast had been going on since like 2009, and, Daniel and I had met since 2009. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, this podcast has been around for like more than a decade. It wouldn't be around for a decade if I was just like, I don't know. Do I really, but even then, but here's the thing. I don't want to make it sound like I'm kind of making fun of people who want rest. Because as you mentioned with what you said, sometimes you just don't feel being creative, and I actually really can empathize that, especially when you said like you're an artist. I actually graduated from college as an artist as well. And you get those moments where you just don't want to make something. And that's the perfect time for like self-care and like taking care of yourself. And looking at other content creators and Twitch streamers, I wish they would think about self-care more, because if they looked at you and the kind of content that you've made, because you know yourself so well, you take care of yourself, they probably would be making the best work they've ever made,
Yeah. Like, no one's saying it's easy, but again, if it was easy, everyone would do it. But you need to understand there are rest days. So different than working out. There are rest days. There are days where you're just like not creative, and sometimes you do have to like step away from everything, and it sucks because you're like, I've been there where you kind of beat yourself up, where it's like, oh man, I'm just laying in bed doing nothing when I should be writing a script right now. Yeah. And you know what? There are days like that. There are always setback days, and they just exist, and you just have to accept that. You're gonna accept that you're having a moment, deal with your moment. Just, you have to be strong enough to be like, okay, this moment has lasted enough. Like, I'm ready to sit at my desk, put words together, make a script, Yeah. And that's a big thing. I just think some people, like, I don't know, they get complacent or they find excuses, and I'm just like, can't do that. Can't do that. You have to be like your own. You have to be strong enough to be like your own manager. You know what I'm saying? You said before, like your sound technician, your producer, director. You kind of have to beat yourself up sometimes. I mean, I've done it. I've refilmed. I'll be like, wow, this looks like trash. You know, so like I'm like Gordon Ramsay to myself. I'll be like, you idiot sandwich. No, but like, you know what I'm saying? You give yourself tough love. You give yourself respect. You got to know yourself. Like I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I know myself very well. I understand how I operate. I got myself figured out. You know, I mean, that not to say I'm not like learning about myself every day. I'm sure there's something. You know, I've never been in a situation where I was on like a sinking ship, so I'm sure I would learn something about my. You know what I mean? Like, but you get my point though. So, yeah, you know, take rest, give yourself the time, but also kick yourself in the ass. You know.
Yeah. Speaking of which, like we have a lot of content creators that come on this show and stuff like that. And I kind of started this whole thing where the previous guests kind of come on the next show in a way to kind of share some words of inspiration and wisdom. And of course, to ask, you a question. This week, we actually have Matt, aka DJ Stormageddon. He actually streams a lot of Fuser on Twitch and stuff. And he also has like, oh my gosh, he has like 5 or 6 different podcasts, which is crazy. I wanted to let you know that he has a message for you. And here it is.
Okay.
What an honor this is. I get to ask the incredible LadyPelvic of Pelvic Gaming a question. But before that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you do on YouTube. You are one of my favorite creators out there. I discovered you through the incredible Peanut Butter Gamer. The two of you collabed not that long ago, and I've been obsessed with your channel since. I know you recently have joined the Normal Boots crew. Congratulations. That's super awesome. Loved Normal Boots a long time as well. But just don't stop doing what you're doing. You are an incredible creator who has changed my life and made me want to create more. So I want you to know that before we move on.
I do feel warm.
Enough buttering you up, though I could keep going. I've also been asked to ask you a question, and I'm very excited to ask this question because I always wonder with content creators, there's always these games, these subjects that we want to cover, but we can't always. Your holy grail, as it were, these games that you want to put in a video or on a podcast, but you can't make it fit right. The script isn't right. And I'm curious, is there a holy grail game for you? Is there a game that you love from your childhood or recently that you would absolutely love to do a video for, but for whatever reason, you haven't? Either you can't get the script just right, or the game is controversial, or you don't want to engage with the hooligans on Twitter, which I don't blame you because there's a lot of them, especially when we're talking about games, folks who just kind of want to nitpick every detail. Is it the fandom that you're worried about, or is it none of that? Is it just you aren't ready to bring it to a video? But I'm curious if there are games or multiple games that you just can't put into a video yet, and why?
I do feel all warm and fuzzy inside. That was nice. That was nice.
Yeah, so like you can keep that forever. That link that is yours and only yours. So I'm never gonna take that off of that channel. But you have to answer the question now.
Oh, that's easy. Majora's Mask for the 3DS. I haven't made a video on it just because time. Really, it's just time. Like I'm trying to get all these videos done. I have like a list of like games on my phone where I'm like, okay, this year I'm getting these games done. And Majora's Mask just isn't on there, even though I like to play it every year. I don't beat it every year, but I just like to play it. I just like, look at me being little Link and little Deku Link and all that stuff. I definitely want to review Majora's Mask though. Like it's on my list of games to do one of these days, but yeah, I haven't gotten to it simply because time.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I wish I really want to do it for like Zelda month, or oh my god, that game, or there's like so many Zelda game ideas I want to do. I like that he said that he like saw me through Peanut Butter Gamer, which I thought was really nice because we're both like huge Majora's Mask fans and Zelda fans and stuff like that. So I really want to do like top 5 favorite Zelda bosses or least favorite Zelda bosses. I just want to talk about Zelda. I wish I would like to do more Zelda because I'm so what's funny is JRPGs are my favorite genre, but Legend of Zelda is my favorite series.
Oh.
Which that's not a JRPG. It's an action adventure platformer kind of, or not platformer, I'm sorry, puzzle game. And yeah, Majora's Mask is my favorite one, but I would love to do more Zelda content. Like I kind of want to like bond with other Zelda creators, right, on the platform, because I think everyone knows me for JRPGs, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, I built my brand off JRPGs. I'm not mad. But just, I love Zelda. I would love to talk more about Zelda, about like why this dungeon is the best, why this dungeon sucks. These mini games are the best. This mini game sucks. These enemies are awesome. These enemies suck. I just want to talk about Zelda. That's what I want to do. So yeah, to answer your question, Majora's Mask is the game I would like to review. I just haven't made the time for it, even though I play it. I play it every year.
Yeah.
But I just haven't made time.
That's awesome. So we are out of time, unfortunately, but I do have one question for you, because you kind of brought it up earlier in our conversation. In all the years that you've been doing content creation and stuff, like, what have you discovered about yourself that you didn't think you had before?
I have a heart.
What?
No, I have a heart. So when I first started YouTube, I was like, man, if I get big, or if I like start to become someone, I'm going to have to like keep myself distant and away from people, simply because I know not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. I don't, who's going to use you for clout, who's going to blah, blah, blah. I was like, whatever friends I have right now, these are the friends I have forever. But as it turns out, I have a heart, and people have just wormed their way into it. And they're just like, and like we've become like certain people, whether they be content creators themselves or like actual like fans turned friends, I suppose. I'm very particular with the word friend. I don't know, friend is a scary word, but yeah, they've just been like, they're actually like cool people. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, take again the LadyPelvic away and like the YouTube channel away. Like we actually just vibe really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think I'm telling you, I went into YouTube really with like a very cold exterior, just like contrary to like my bubbly personality. I was very like to myself. Now, I mean, I still am. The walls are still very much up. I'm just more kind of impressed that people manage to climb them. So, yeah.
Sometimes when we go into something for the first time, we have this sort of expectation that doesn't match the reality of what happens on the other side. And it's actually, if there's anything that I've learned from speaking to you today, is that you have the confidence and the strength to really go far on YouTube. And I've no doubt that you're going to reach like millions and millions of people. Might be the first one in our JRPG squad to do that. I think so. Well,
I hope if I am the chosen one, I really hope to serve you guys well and bring you guys up with me. You know what I'm saying? It's a community effort. I don't believe in selling myself short. Like, I would not be here if I wasn't a hard worker. Like, if you didn't see like, wow, this girl makes really good content, she works really hard, I'm sure you wouldn't have invited me. You wouldn't have batted an eye at me. Like, if my content was shit and I was just, kind of like a drama monger or whatever, So the reason I'm as far as I am is because of myself. Also, it is because other creators have given me a platform. Have given me the space to speak my mind and just my thoughts. And I would like to bring those creators with me. I think what you're doing here is really sweet. I love the inspirational bit. I thought that, or not the inspirational bit, inspirational, but also just the question from like I thought that was so heartwarming. I did not expect to feel so like, woo, I feel like a little princess, but I want, if I can get your platform to lift even higher, reach more people, and give the people to feel the same way I just felt, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
So, thank you.
You're welcome. And so we've come to the part of the show where you plug your wares. I mean, I'm pretty sure 90% of the people listening right now know where to find you, but just in case, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on YouTube at Pelvic Gaming. A lot of JRPG content, if you didn't gather that from this podcast. A lot of JRPG, and hopefully some Zelda content. So if you like Zelda,
yes.
But also Twitter, LadyPelvic, or at LadyPelvic, I think. Maybe it's underscore in there. You'll find just I'm telling you, just Google LadyPelvic, but have safe search on, because sometimes you'll see some LadyPelvic's a little risque. But Facebook, I'm on Facebook at Pelvic Gaming, and I'm on Instagram as LadyPelvic. So it's either LadyPelvic or Pelvic Gaming. Gotta test your luck and see what you find. But all JRPG goodness and art, if you like that, especially on Instagram. I do a lot of art stuff. So
I should check that out because I'm barely on Instagram, but I know I followed you, so I'm looking forward to the art stuff, stuff on there.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for joining us today. It's been really pleasure getting to know you a bit better because, like sometimes online, it's very difficult to get to know somebody better because there's a lot of noise. And I think this is, I hope people have a better idea of who you are thanks to this show.
Yeah, I hope so too. Actually, you got some quite interesting answers out of me. I was kind of like thinking about it. I was like, wow, I opened up a little bit. Too much? I don't know.
I keep saying this to every guest that I have on the show. I have to credit Oprah because apparently like I got, I started watching Oprah recently to the suggestion of my wife and myself. And I was like, she's a really good interviewer. So anyways, that's going to be a running joke, I guess, moving forward. So, but for anybody who is listening to the show, you'll always find a brand new episode of the Backlog Battle Podcast every Wednesday at midnight. Don't ask me. That's like the best time to release these podcasts, at midnight Pacific time. So until next week, you'll find a brand new guest, and LadyPelvic will be in there too in some capacity, if you know what I mean. So until next time, we'll see you later, and happy gaming.